my entire network does not care about LinkedIn as much as I do. So you know what I don't do? I don't post about LinkedIn all the time. What I like to think about is who my clients are, what they care about. Well, they're leaders. They care about development. They care about time management. They care about goal setting. They care about sales and prospecting and leveling up their game. And so I post content that speaks to those things that my network and the people I want to do business with care about.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Renew Podcast. I am your host, Kristen Andre, and as always, we are helping you reclaim your business and your life without losing your edge. And I am super excited today because we have with us Lindsey Stemann, who is a LinkedIn credibility consultant, but also a friend of mine. So this will be not only a good session where you guys are going to learn a ton, but we get to catch up a little bit because it's been a while since I've seen you. Thank you for being with us.
I'm so excited, Kristen. It's, it has been a while. So I'm looking forward to having a great conversation and bring your audience and listeners some good facts and things that they can go implement, but also just to talk about life and what's going on.
Exactly. Well, all right, you and I've connected a while ago because we both are in the coaching consulting space, and you with McMillan Consulting, you've been consulting a long time, just like me. We've been around the block about a hot minute, but what is so cool about you is you've always been just entrenched in LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn junkie. I love it. And I try to keep up with everything, but that's all you do. Like that's your thing. So how did you get into LinkedIn specifically? Because anytime somebody has a question about LinkedIn, I'm like, we got to call Lindsey or go see Lindsey. But how'd you get into that niche?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people don't realize LinkedIn is actually older than Facebook. So it just so happened that Facebook gained popularity a little bit more rapidly than LinkedIn, because initially LinkedIn was really a place where people would go to look for a job. And at the time I was living and working in the DC metro area in sales, and, new in my career and looking for any way possible just to connect with people and start conversations and build my network. And our VP of sales was very forward thinking. And so she would actually create little competitions amongst us sales team and team members to use LinkedIn. And I'm super competitive already. And I needed anything that I could, because I'm up against these veteran sales reps to win these, whatever. Pride is probably what I was just trying to go at.
That's okay. Pride is good. That usually works with salespeople.
Yeah, there we go. And so, so I've been a user, right? The good kind of user for quite a long time. And so really what I've realized was that LinkedIn, ultimately what it is just an online networking tool. Right? Like there's only so many hours in the day for us to go meet people and shake hands and have phone conversations. But LinkedIn is really like our 21st century Rolodex. It's our place where we can, I can only manage so many relationships in my brain at one time. And so I use LinkedIn as that place to feed me real-time information about people who I care about in business and in life, because as you very well know, a lot of business relationships turn into friendships. So and quite honestly, Kristen, like LinkedIn changes so often. I can't imagine being a social media expert. So that's what I always tell people. I'm like, if you're looking for a social media expert, you're talking to the wrong gal, because LinkedIn is the sandbox I play and stay in. LinkedIn is hard enough to keep up with as it is. I dabble my toes in Instagram and have a lot of.
You do. I do follow you on Instagram. Yeah. But you're right. There's so much to know about it. It's hard to be all places and all things. So with that, you brought up a good point. What's new? What are some changes? What do you see coming? Because I'm like you. I've been on LinkedIn forever, and I think people are so surprised at how long it's been there. I love it. I've engaged with it since the beginning, but it changes a ton. So what have you seen over the years, and what do you see coming?
So as much as I would love to have the inside track with.
Right. See if you could get that. That would be great.
I know. At one point I had a few different relationships, but like any corporate corporate America job. Those folks left. And, but all that to say, so what I've found, and y'all have probably noticed this too, if you've spent any amount of time on LinkedIn, you know that it changes all of the time. And at the end of the day, what we have to remember is that it's a software company. So they're always going to be tweaking and iterating and changing and adjusting and pivoting, because ultimately their goal, their mission is to connect the world's business professionals to make them more productive and successful. So do you remember, Kristen, when LinkedIn tested out stories?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Did not go well. They have come in and out of using hashtags. So hashtags were big on LinkedIn, and then they went away for a couple of years. And then the last 12 to 18 months, they've resurfaced.
And they're prompting you ones. Yeah. Not always great ones, but they prompt you. Yeah.
Still what I think, hashtags are still a little bit like the wild, wild west on LinkedIn. So it's not that you shouldn't use them. You should. It makes you look relevant. It makes you look like you're in the know with how to use the tool. But don't lose sleep over what hashtags you're using and not using on LinkedIn. There's way more value and times to spend. So I think what I would just say for those listening and getting inside of LinkedIn is the best way to use the tool is being in it consistently, because then when you're in it consistently, you notice when things change, and then it's much easier. The learning curve is much shorter because you actually can start exploring and discovering. And I'll admit, I mean, Kristen, one of the features that LinkedIn rolled out about 2 years ago was creator mode. And I didn't like creator mode, didn't see the point of it, thought it was kind of dumb. And what I realized over time, well, two things happened. One was that I just didn't understand how to use it. And so that's on me, user error, operator error. But then also LinkedIn got smarter and they added more kind of bells and whistles to it. And so now I love creator mode. Now I'm a raving fan. So if you're in the tool and something frustrates you, or, at one point they took away the ability to export our connections. By the way, if you're in sales and you've never exported your LinkedIn connections, you're welcome, because that's your warmest market to tap into. But they took that away. And Kristen,
I saw that. I thought the internet was going to explode, because there were some chat rooms about that. Yes.
In arms. So if LinkedIn takes something away and people flare up, they're listening and they're going to bring it back, but they're not perfect. Just like
But I love that. I love that. I mean, so all right, I'm a big engagement person. I think social media should be about engagement. Like you said, it's a Rolodex and what you do with it. But I want to back up a little bit, because I've got a question for you on profiles, because sometimes I'll scroll some profiles and I'll see, and I'm like, this person's photo is from 1992. It's still black and white. They've got a big lapel. I mean, people don't update their profile. So what do you see? Like, what are the basics? So for the people listening who are like, I never look at my profile. And I've had a lot of people tell me that. Like, what do they need? What are the quick hits they need to do today, and just go, all right, check these things?
Check the box. Thank you for asking the simplest but most important question about LinkedIn. When somebody says to me, yeah, Lindsey, I've tried to use LinkedIn and I just don't get it. It just doesn't work. Well, that can be for a number of reasons, but one of the foundational reasons, Kristen, is typically because they look like a complete fool on their LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
The more people you reach out to, the more you engage, which we can talk about that more in a little bit, the more content you post. You know what that does? It turns more eyeballs back on you. So you have to make sure that you have your pants pulled up and your shirt buttoned up and your hair brushed and you look smiling and approachable. So a couple quick best practices. Update your profile picture every year. And I know a year is 12 months and it goes by really quickly, but let me tell you, I always try to tell folks that I'm teaching and clients that I go before you. So I did a little experiment. I used to say, oh, Kristen, every 2 to 3 years, update your profile picture. It's fine. Well, I went back into the archives and I pulled every one of my LinkedIn profile pictures from the last 8 years. And you know what? I look a little bit different every single year.
Oh God, now I'm curious. I've changed mine a lot, but now I'm like, oh gosh, I would like to go back and look. Yeah.
And it's, I don't want to say it's alarming, but at the end of the day, we change and we have to be okay and comfortable with that. What's more alarming and uncomfortable is when you meet with somebody in person or virtually and you don't look how you look in your LinkedIn profile picture. You want to talk about somebody's guard going up and losing such a simple trust factor that could have been overcome by having an updated profile picture. So a couple quick things about that. Shoulders up, smiling, approachable, just you. LinkedIn crops it to a circle. So think of it just as a square. Don't have your head cut off. We don't need, please, no selfies, right? The thing that my big, I'm like, oh my gosh, LinkedIn, you're just asking for it.
I know.
On the mobile app, you can update your LinkedIn profile picture and turn your camera on and then turn it to selfie mode. Oh my gosh, please don't do that. We know, Kristen, we know when you've cut off your arm and you've made your profile picture a selfie, right? Yep. Everybody knows. Yeah. So just you, smiling, approachable every 12 months, and just be the person who you are, right?
Yeah, I think so too. And then the other thing with profiles that kind of gets me is two things. One is if they don't tell me anything, it's just plain. And the other thing is the cover. I love the cover thing. If you just have the templated one that's in there, I look at it when I see somebody's profile, and if they haven't changed their cover photo, for me, my first thought is they don't use this tool much, or they haven't taken the extra effort. So I maybe that's judgy. I'm kind of judgmental on LinkedIn a little bit.
Well, and you and everybody else, you are spot on. Everyone is doing that. And so if you feel that way, which most of everyone else who uses LinkedIn feels that way too, then we have to, again, turn the mirror back on ourselves and do our own profile assessment. So that background image, you used to only be able to use that I call it real estate, really, if you were a paid user on LinkedIn. Right. Now, if you're on everything in your LinkedIn profile, Kristen, any bells and whistles, at some point in our conversation, I'm going to give your listeners access to one of our free guides. Everything in your LinkedIn profile is accessible regardless if you're a paid or a free user on LinkedIn.
There's so much you can do, so how you can make it really cool. It doesn't take that long, I don't think.
The background image doesn't. Now, if you're building out your profile the right way, it should take some time, right? Yes. We want people to hear your voice. So another best practice is writing in first person. Let people, the opportunity that you have is for when people to meet you, they think, oh, that's the Kristen I read about, right? They could already hear your voice, and then they meet you and they're like, there's consistency, there's congruency in what they researched and what they actually experienced.
Well, and I think that, all right, so that's the profile. And I think that translates to your post as well, because I write very much like I speak. Now I've got to go back and look at my LinkedIn profile. I'm like, dang it. But I know you do that. I know your firm, your consulting group, that's what you do for clients, is you will write their profile. And what I appreciate about the work you guys do is you write it in their voice. Because so many times I'll read somebody, I'm like, that is so not them. But I see that translating into post as well, because I know you and I both work with a lot of financial firms and financial services firms, and the posts get kind of cold and dry and salesy. So when you're advising your clients, they've got a great profile, they built that up, and now they're starting to do some posts and try to engage with people. How do you carry that authenticity over? What do people need to be paying attention to?
To me, the thing that I always recommend is the balance of the type of content that you're putting out there. So I'll pick on myself. I love LinkedIn. It's evidence in the work that I do. However, my entire network does not care about LinkedIn as much as I do. So you know what I don't do? I don't post about LinkedIn all the time. What I like to think about is who my clients are, what they care about. Well, they're leaders. They care about development. They care about time management. They care about goal setting. They care about sales and prospecting and leveling up their game. And so I post content that speaks to those things that my network and the people I want to do business with care about. And so that can come in a lot of different forms. It can come in the form of my expertise and how I can help them level up on the platform. Okay. So we check that box. It can come in the form of me sharing my own personal stories of leveling up and time management. So making it more personal with the undertone of business. And it can come in the form of what we like to call third-party stories. So going outside to publications publications like Fast Company and Forbes and Inc.
Yeah.
and identifying articles and content that has already been validated and written by somebody else. But what I always say, Kristen, is don't just share somebody else's content. Don't just share an article with no comment. Kristen, if I shared something on LinkedIn and said nothing about it, my guess is because you're a human being, you're going to glaze right over it. But because you know me and you care about me and my opinion and what I have to say, if I make a comment or a caption about what I'm sharing, chances of you actually engaging with that and paying attention is going to be
huge. It totally makes sense. And excuse me, I agree. Sorry. I do the same thing because you're right. We think about what we glaze over. I'm just on a coughing fit today. We think about what we glaze over versus what we pay attention to. And we make this, I see so many people making the same mistakes. It's like, if you wouldn't read it, don't post it. And the same thing with, I'm on a salesy kick recently, I think. I've had so many people that, whether it's DMs on LinkedIn, if you guys have been following my LinkedIn lately, this has been my pet peeve. Whether it's people just cold approaches or posting content that's irrelevant, LinkedIn is a great tool to be able to build relationships and to ultimately make sales and do that. But it doesn't have to be that. So I feel like the people I follow and enjoy are ones that are doing exactly what you're saying. They're engaging, they're trying to provide value, they're giving content without trying to sell. So I think that's a fine line for people to understand that it's not all about push what I do down your throat. Because you made a great point. Like, you get to say what you do, but not all the time.
Right. It's having that balance. And here's the thing. From my experience, there's a lot of fear around content and what to post, and this fear around, should I say this? And it paralyzes people. So don't be so nervous about putting something out there that you don't do it at all. Start getting in the flow, get in a rhythm. Your network will tell you what they're interested in. And how will they tell you? They'll tell you by engaging with that, whether it's commenting or reacting or resharing it or sending you a direct message. I had a gentleman reach out to me. He's seen me speak multiple times over the last 3 years. We have never had a conversation. He is an ideal prospect for me. And I ended up sharing a third-party story about a client I worked with who had some wild success. And he actually knows that person. This individual sent me a direct message and said, well, the writing's on the wall, Lindsey. I've heard you speak multiple times, and now my good friend has had all this success. I want to do whatever he's doing. How do I get that process started?
But that's amazing, though. That's how this should work.
That's how this should work. Absolutely. And I love the point you made about there's 2 things you said, Kristen, that I want to touch on. One is the people that you're following and the content you're seeing, you're enjoying it. Well, that means that you've curated your network of connections really well and really thoughtfully. When somebody says, Lindsey, there's so much garbage on LinkedIn. Well, you know what that usually means? It means that you're following people who are posting garbage.
Yeah, which is applicable to all other social media sites. Like, I don't see the negativity because I don't follow it. So you get to choose your friends in this one.
Yes, you get to choose your adventure, right? So LinkedIn is no different in that sense relative to other platforms. The other thing you mentioned was just getting bombarded with really salesy, kind of icky,
slimy, greasy, icky, yucky. Yes.
And you know what that often is? Not all the time. Sometimes there's a human behind it, but there has been a tremendous uptick in automation and robots, right? And listen, I'm not opposed to automation. So I want to make that very clear. I'm not opposed to using a tool to help you reach more people. However, it is not the complete picture. It is not the full solution. It is only part of that red, alluring, easy button, right? What makes you stand out if you're going to use a tool like automation, which again, personally, I don't use it. I take a fully human approach on LinkedIn. But if you do use it, the way you're going to garner the most success, and quite honestly, Kristen, this goes for people who aren't using it like you and me, is making yourself a human. So let me give you a quick scenario. if I'm a robot and I send you an invitation and you don't know me, and it's not personalized, or even if it is personalized, feels kind of icky and slimy, and then you never follow up again. Or let's say you're moving really fast, Kristen, and you do accept my invitation. And then I follow up with a super salesy, kind of slimier message in your inbox. And then I stop. Well, it's clear, it probably feels clear to you that I was a robot, that I was an automation tool getting, reaching out to you. What's going to make me look different if I'm using an automation tool, apart from messaging and language, which we don't have time to dive into today, is going to your profile, Kristen, and engaging with your activity.
And commenting and liking and starting conversations. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wait, why does Lindsey's name ring a bell? You know what? I think I have a message in my inbox from her that I need. Oh, wait, I think I have a voicemail from her. Right. And then I start humanizing myself.
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah, no, I get that because I'm the same way. So I have been blurring out the names when I post the screenshots of these salesy messages I get. I've had a couple people DM me and say, show the name. I haven't done that. Not going to do it. But all right. So question for you real quick, because I know I don't want to go deep into it, but I like Navigator, Sales Navigator. And I know it's a paid for tool, and I don't prospect a lot on LinkedIn. I take very few private clients, and they're all direct referrals, but I love to engage, for some of our group programs in our community. So I love getting to know people. Because anybody I work with personally, for me, I want to be the right person. Like I always say, know your people, find your people, love them hard. What I love about Navigator, it lets me curate who I'm following. I have leads. I can quickly go in and see, like, here are the people I'm following. Here's what they posted today. So that's how I use it. But do you have a lot of people using it? Do you feel it's a good tool? I mean, I'm a fan, but I know a lot of people are hesitant because it's not free. I think you can do a lot of great stuff with the free version for sure. But what do you think about Navigator?
I love Sales Navigator.
Okay, good.
So yes. So a lot of times people will say, Lindsey, I'm on LinkedIn Premium. And my response is, well, which premium? There's actually 4 individual LinkedIn premiums. There's career,
I know. It
business,
keeps changing.
Sales Navigator, Recruiter Lite. Sales Navigator, by and large, is a paid subscription to use. And to your point, it's not free, but if you know how to use it, it can be transformational in your business.
Right. Well, what I tell my clients is you pick up one client, one good relationship from that in a year, you've more than paid for it for the year, probably several years. So I think it's a worthwhile investment.
Well, and one of the things that you mentioned that I love about Sales Navigator is there's no advertising. Like,
oh my
LinkedIn,
gosh, right?
LinkedIn gods, please hear us, right? There's no advertising.
Yes.
So you mentioned this. It's only the people and companies that you tell Sales Navigator are important to you.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that too. So I'm a huge fan.
I carve out time each day, and I follow my private clients. I follow people that are in my coaching community that have been in all of my clients. I follow them, and I follow key influencers, key thought leaders, because then I can quickly just jump on and go boom, 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 and you can even view their little posts and comment right there. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. So, what other things are you seeing, like with LinkedIn? Like if people are listening and they're not using it, how do you tell them to spend their day? Like, what are the things to do? Update word profile, we know that. But as far as like, how much time do we need to carve out each day? What do we need to be doing?
Yeah. So I'm not going to answer that question directly regarding how much time, because it really depends what your objective is and what you're trying to accomplish. But what I will do is I'll give you a couple of different types of activity that are worthwhile. And when folks hire me, there's different roadmaps that we shared with them based on what they're trying to accomplish. But a few ways to spend your time on LinkedIn. And the first thing you should always do before you hop on that desktop version or even pull up the app on your phone is ask yourself, what am I trying to do? Because just like any other tool on the World Wide Web, if you go on to that platform of LinkedIn with no agenda, no intention, you'll come up for air an hour later, look at your watch and be like, what did I just do for an hour? So the best advice I can give you is before you get on LinkedIn, decide what you're going to do. So it could be that today or in this iteration of time, little segment of time, you're only going to focus on building your network and inviting people to join your network. It could also be that you're following up to people who are in your inbox, who've accepted that invitation that you need to start a conversation with, people who are waiting to hear from you. It could be, so a new feature that LinkedIn recently rolled out is the ability to schedule our posts, which is awesome. A lot of us are already using other outside platforms. I'm not suggesting that those should go away, but just know that you have the ability now to schedule out your posts. Yeah. So deciding what that content is. Now, Kristen, if you're being really intentional and strategic, which I know all your listeners want to be and are already in their businesses, one way to be really thoughtful and strategic with LinkedIn is when it comes to content, carve out an hour a month and decide what you're going to post for the upcoming month at minimum. That way you have a game plan. If you've got a team member, delegate it to them. So posting, if you've got Sales Navigator, one of the big, activities I like to say that's really important is not just searching, but also saving those searches and really digging in. So actually once a month, I like to challenge my clients to only focus on one of those saved searches so you can really get super focused. So one of those searches might be executives, right? C-suites, and you are trying to target those particular executives. So just focus on that one saved search for that month instead of getting, bright and shiny object syndrome and going in 100 different directions. So those are just a couple of things to think about. The list could go on, but those are.
I love it because I love your idea of trying to, when you're going to be on LinkedIn, to know, okay, I'm going to take an hour to do X. I think that's good advice because it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole, and there's so many different things that you do that if you're not intentional about how you're spending your time, it's a lot harder. So yeah.
Let me give one more little freebie. So the one activity that you should do every single day. And you're like, what, Lindsey? I don't have time to do this every day.
Okay, I've got time. Everybody's got time. We've got time.
Because it could only take you 2 minutes on one day, and it might take you 10 minutes another day. Is every single day, I want you to look at your notifications on LinkedIn. Look and take action. Every single day, LinkedIn is feeding you real-time data of things happening in your network. It could be somebody's 10th work anniversary. It could be that somebody got promoted. It could be that somebody shared a piece of content that is relevant to you that you can engage with. It could be somebody's birthday and they're a prospect who you've been chasing for 6 months, and now you've got a reason and excuse to reach out to them. So every single day, observe and take action on those notifications.
I will echo that because I have definitely, we always say it's hard to measure ROI on social media and on LinkedIn. I can tell you, I do that daily. That's one of my things is I spend time each day in the notifications. I start there. That's my step one. I usually do it in the morning, depending on schedule, sometimes the afternoon, but I get it done. I have 100% can attribute business to that because what happens is you reach out for the reason that the notification tells you. Work anniversary. I've had a few people with my former firm. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 20 years. What an accomplishment is this great. And frequently they'll like, I can't believe it either. We should catch up. So I'm like, absolutely. And we'll schedule calls. And from those calls, I've gotten, you're like, we should talk about this. I should have you do this. I'd love to work with you on this. It works if you do it. Now, that's not the reason I'm reaching out. I'm reaching out truly to congratulate. But if you do it in an authentic manner and pay attention to the notifications, then it comes back around, especially if you do it daily. Like you said, if you do that every day, the business comes. It's consistency. You want to I'll be in the Lindsey pocket. That's right. Lindsey said it. For sure. Yeah. Well, and it's like, I look at overall businesses, and I'm a big social media proponent. I'm a big LinkedIn proponent, and it's one piece of the toolbox. But what I love about what you do is you can get in that nitty gritty. Like I'm advising the whole practice, and I really want people to do it. But having known you for years, you've all the ins and outs. Like you can boil it down because I think people look at this and go, oh, it's so big. And you can bite it down. So, for our listeners, as we're kind of wrapping it up in a bow, first of all, how do they get in touch with you? Because I know I've sent people your way before that I know you do profile refreshes. So for those of you guys listening who are like, I don't even know what to do, I don't know where to write, Lindsey will do it for you. I mean, it's amazing. So for those of us who need that extra little help, like how do you work with clients and how do they get in touch with you? And you also mentioned you had a little freebie that you were going to let our listeners access. So tell us about all that. Yeah, right. Step one. Yeah.
And you're only going to see a follow button. You are welcome to follow me. I invite you to follow me. But if you want to connect with me, click that little more button and you'll get a drop-down menu to click connect. Add a note and tell me that you heard me on Kristen's podcast. And that way I know who you are. I'll accept and we'll start a conversation. Okay. So there's a little trick. You're welcome to follow me, but if you want to actually connect and be first degree connections, click that more button, send me an invitation with a note so I know who you are.
I like that. Follow versus connect.
Yes. Ooh, big difference. Okay. Big difference. I am on Instagram, Kristen, as you said earlier, I am on Instagram. So here's an easy one. My handle is LinkedIn Lindsey. I know I resisted it for years. Creative. And one of my good friends was like, you can't believe you haven't gone by LinkedIn Lindsey. I'm like, John, it's so cheesy. Well, when I decided to get on Instagram for my business, I thought, okay, here goes nothing. So it's LinkedIn, LINDSEY. So please follow me on there. Would love to engage with you. You see my cute dog, Tater Tot, and fly fishing adventures and all the good things. Yeah, he's the best. And then, check out my website. So McMillion MC, as it sounds, MC Million consulting.com. That's where you'll find a couple of free guides. You'll also find what Kristen was sharing, our 5-step trademark process called the Profile Transformer. It's where we interview you. Kristen, you did a great job describing it earlier. Yeah. We interview you, pull out your voice, we write and design your entire profile for you, and we launch it for you. So it's a really done for you premium service. And then we do training and I do speaking engagements as well, which is super fun. I love getting hired to speak at conferences and annual meetings and training the top sales producers how to leverage this as a revenue generating tool.
It's so important because it really can be if used properly. And so I'm going to speak to the people that are listening going, I use LinkedIn. A lot of people say I'm on LinkedIn or I use LinkedIn, but my question is always how? Are you using it the right way? So I think that's what's so cool about the work you're doing is you're really showing us. And I learn something every time I talk to you because I now I'm looking back as soon as you said that, I'm like, I kind of like this follow thing instead of connect because I have so many connections at this point, having been on so long and doing a lot of media and things like that, that I don't know most of them, which is why I like Navigator. I can curate, but I kind of like that follow thing. I'm thinking, I may have to switch that up a little bit.
There you go. And the freebie, Kristen, because I don't want to forget that.
Yes.
If y'all head to McMillionConsulting.com/profile, really simple, McMillionConsulting.com/profile, give you access to our free Rock Your Profile guide. So if you're not in a position to hire me privately, that's totally fine. I still want to be able to get you started and get you moving in the right direction. So you have some inspiration and best practices with leveling up that LinkedIn profile.
I love it. So and I'll put that in the show notes and we'll also put it in the comments section so you guys can grab that link really quick. And thank you for that. I think that's good. I like leveling up. We like creating rock stars around here because I think this is such a good opportunity for people. And whether you're using Navigator like Lindsey and I use or using the free one, there's so much you can do. And if you're struggling, that's why you're here. I'm telling you, this is her jam. Like she has just built all the people I see cool profiles, I'm like, especially with some of the companies I know we both work a lot with, they're like, oh yeah, I work with Lindsey. I'm like, oh, of course you did, because yours is really good. So I love it. So keep doing the great work, and we'll have to, as changes continue to come, I know you post about things and updates and everything, so she's your girl to stay on top of all the trends. So. Awesome. All right, Lindsey, thank you so much for being with us. LinkedIn Lindsey. So be sure to give her a follow. Download that profile guide. I think that will be amazing. I'm going to take a peek at it myself. I just typed it into my search bar here so I can make sure I'm doing all the right things. I think I'm on the right track. So I've had some guidance, but we'll see. Never know where we can all level up. So Lindsey, thank you for being with us. For those of you guys listening, we will be back again, but let us know what your thoughts. Let us know in the comments what you've enjoyed, what tip stood out the most to you, and more importantly, what you're going to change and implement based on all the cool stuff Lindsey shared with us. So thank you for being with us. We will be back with you again next week for another episode of Renew.